Good morning. Today my pleasure is to introduce Jamie Ross, and she is going to tell you a little bit about herself. You missed it, we've been having a lovely conversation about where we've lived and what we've looked at and where we've traveled. That's another video for us. Jamie, if you will introduce yourself, please.
Let's see here. I'm Jamie Ross. I'm with At Properties. Been married. I have two lovely girls. One is graduating high school, so I'm a little depressed about that.
Okay, fair enough.
And then one is in 7th grade, and we're just keeping busy with sports and life.
And you're out in Libertyville way?
Libertyville is the office that I'm associated with,
Okay.
but I live in Lindenhurst, so I'm further north.
A little further north.
Yeah.
So you're used to the cold in here too.
Yes.
Yeah, Wisconsin ways. One of the things I always ask people as we do this is how long you've been doing it and what on earth convinced you to start this career?
That's a long story.
Okay, we have some time.
I've been doing this for about 6 years.
Oh, pretty recently.
Yeah, pretty recent. I'm not for a long time. But the way I got started was, I've always been in sales. So I've always, since I graduated high school, I've had a sales career. Majority of it was in fundraising sales with kids doing, like at the PTOs. My job was to go to the PTOs, convince them to use us as a fundraiser. I would do the big hoopla in front of the kids, telling them about all the prizes they could win for all the stuff that they sell.
Fair enough.
And it was really fun. I had through the school year, it was my job. Summers were off, and I loved it. But then there was a shift, and the shift was from selling products door to door to more of events in the school fundraising realm. And I saw that shift coming, and I knew that it was probably time to look for something else.
Okay.
I've always been interested in interior design. I actually went to school for interior design at Harrington Institute of Interior Design. Never graduated because I got married and kids and all that stuff, but took classes there. And my husband was a carpenter, so I was very got to see everything that he did. And so I was like, why don't I marry the two, my love for design and architecture with my sales experience? And so he worked as a home inspector, and his boss's wife was a managing broker, and many conversations with her, she convinced me to just finally go for it. So
it's
I did.
Always someone saying, come on, you're going to be good at this.
Right.
Almost always. Yes.
So that's it. I started out part-time.
Okay.
I was still working part-time at it was the Center Club in Gurnee. I did membership sales for them.
Okay.
So I was doing that part-time, and then eventually it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to dive in and focus on this.
What was the turning
100%.
point? What was there like a day you said, okay, enough's enough?
I was just sick of doing both. It was just kind of like, it was just too much. And I like my freedom. I don't like going to an office at all. So
okay.
That was part of it. And I enjoy, with that being said, I enjoy the freedom of being able to go to all my kids' events and be there for them, because that was very important to me.
Okay.
So.
Do you like your job?
I love it.
Okay, that's always good to know. I'm always afraid to ask someone's going to say someday no. How did you get started then? When you decided to go full time, what were the things that you did to build your business at that point?
I joined the Chamber of Commerce.
Was that really effective for you?
It was. I got pulled in, and I was actually the executive director of the chamber for a couple of years.
Okay.
I'm still on the board, so I'm still involved. So that helped a lot, because that got me to introduce myself to a lot of the business members in the community.
Okay.
So that, and just being involved in the PTO at my daughter's schools, all the sports that they do, just building those relationships and meeting new people. So that helped a lot.
That was one of the things I was going to ask you, if you are invested in your community, and you just answered it. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was one of the...
My kids hate it, because they're like, everybody, Mom.
I had the same thing. And I met people, we were in Hawaii one day, and I met people and said, oh, Deborah, it's so good to see you. And I went crazy. And then I said, this was my threat to them, you see, wherever you go.
Right, exactly. People are watching.
People are watching you. And they still are convinced that somewhere my mom is going to know somebody and they're going to rent. My kids are in their 50s now, and they're still worried. Good, I let them be worried. It was a good thing to be worried. So that, you're doing, what kind of house do you like to sell the best?
I could tell you the house I least like is the
Easy.
raised ranches.
I'm not crazy. Okay, fair enough.
Those I do not like. But, your general, I mean, up in my area, they pretty much, there's only a few different floor plans that you notice, right? And those that are pretty slightly updated, not overly updated, but, they've done some work, not too crazy messy. But I like a traditional 2-story.
I do too. That would be always my house of choice, a traditional 2-story.
Right.
Yes, because that's why I live
With
in
a
ranch,
garage.
right? Yeah.
Like, you need the garage. Like, I hate selling a house without a garage.
People
Especially
just
up by
complain
us.
about
By
that.
us, there's so much to do. Like, we have the chain of lakes, and everyone's outdoorsy with they need a garage for all their toys. So,
How much, since you're up that way, how much is knowledge of what your communities are like? How much does that play into your selling real estate with your clients?
it's a huge point. I've had people look at houses, especially like, and I know like that house, whenever it rains a lot, that one's going to be underwater. I could tell you that right now because we have all the lakes, right?
You have the lakes, yes.
There's a lot of, not necessarily huge flooding, but like if you get a decent amount of rain, there's going to be some houses that are pretty close to being underwater.
Okay.
So that, another thing is, I forgot what I was going to say now.
It's okay. Knowledge of the communities, how that affects what you're selling and all
Oh,
that.
and the changes. Like I have one buyer looking for a particular house, and she absolutely loved this one house up in Lindenhurst, and I knew Route 45 was changing. They were, they were putting in the bypass around Milburn, and I told her, I'm like, listen, this is going to be cutting right through this neighborhood, and your house will be like 3 doors down from where this Route 45 is going to be. And she's like, oh, no, I can't. It was her dream house. She loved it. I could have easily just been like, oh, yeah, here you go.
There you go, yes.
But I knew that would be a hard no for her if she knew that was coming in. So
the knowledge of your community makes a big difference. That's
Yeah.
one of the things that you let your clients know your value. We've been talking a lot since the changes that are coming down the real estate about what your value is and your value propositions. I think that's a big piece of a value proposition, that I know the community and I know what's happening.
Exactly.
How are you changing your business because business is changing? Or are you changing your business because business is changing?
It's I've definitely noticed a change this year.
How so?
Well, last year I think it was my best year that I've had so far.
Okay.
Which I know a lot of people were saying that last year was just horrible. So this year I went into it. Well, I also moved, so there was a lot of like downtime for me just trying to get settled into our new home. But I'm not as busy as I would have liked to be at this point. But I think it's more with the interest rates and the NAR settlement and everything else. I think people are a little. They're trying to wait till things settle before they kind of make a decision if they're going to move forward or not.
Have you had clients talking to you about the NAR settlement and what's going on? I'm always curious if, because we're just like so vested in this, we're
Right.
reading about it like every 30 minutes. But I'm always kind of curious if the public out there's been a lot of public-facing information.
Right.
But I'm wondering how much it's that you're actually seeing the result of that.
A little bit. I mean, I actually sat down at a listing appointment the other day, and the clients were like, "So my lender told me to ask you."
Okay, thank you so much. I'll be sure to recommend it.
Right, and I explained to them, I'm like, listen, this is your pluses and your minuses of doing this, and I think you're going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage if you do not offer compensation to the buyer's agent. Like in my experience, most buyers can't even afford a down payment at this point. Like they're not going to be able to afford a down payment and to pay their buyer's agent out of their pocket. And I think we're going to see that effect a lot if we get into this, what NAR wants us to do. And sellers stop offering compensation. I really think that you're going to see a lot longer market times because people aren't going to be able to afford it, especially your first-time home buyers.
That is, I think, the biggest worry people have is the first-time home buyers and the lower-income buyers.
Right.
Someone's buying a $3 million house, probably they can afford to pay.
Right.
But it is those first times. So I know that there's still a lot of discussion going on about how do we handle some of those situations.
Right. And not only that, those are the people that need us the most because they don't have the knowledge of, buying a home. It's their first time.
The other people that I think that need us the most are the people who haven't sold their house.
Right. First-time home sellers.
First time, or not in the last 30 years have they
Right.
sold their house, and they're like, "What do you mean I have to do this? What do you mean this?
Right.
What do you mean?"
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lot of surprises for people with that.
Right. And it's just, I think a lot of it is that people don't understand everything we do behind the scenes. They just see us like, oh, you sold my house, this is it. And, they don't see every little thing, all the phone calls, the fires that I'm putting out before you even know about it. Because I don't want to stress my clients out if I don't have to. So I try and handle things, before it gets to that point.
I had someone who said, I got yelled at a closing once, why was someone giving me this much money? Seriously, he said, I got yelled at because why was someone giving you this much money? You didn't do anything. Well, he's got the most hot damn team that ever was that works like that. Oh, no, we're back on track. Oh,
Right.
well, we're back on track. And he said, and I thought, well, they never saw me. They never heard from me. They would hear from my team members, and all we ever told them was, oh, everything is fine.
Right.
He said, so I kind of changed. He said, I didn't change my team because I want everything to be fine, but I did stop not telling them that.
Right.
I now, my team is instructed when we fix something, we let them know that
Right.
we fixed it. We tell them, well, there was this issue, but we've solved that for you
Exactly.
already. Because I thought there was some truth to what they were saying. They never saw me do anything. How would they know my value? He said, so we changed that afternoon.
Right.
We changed that afternoon.
Yeah. And I've
Yes.
shifted the way, I do the same thing.
Yes.
So,
I'll still fix it,
right.
but I'm going to let you know that I fixed it. Yes. And I think that's really important because I do think a lot of people think, what are you doing kind of
Right.
thing. Yes. When you're doing your interviewing, when you're talking to people, what is the value that you're telling, and this is a hard question, what is the value that you're telling them you have?
That I have.
That you have. I think every realtor is going to have to be able
Right.
to say that out loud. What's the value that you have?
Well, I talk about my marketing. I'm I proud of myself. I love creative stuff. That's one of my favorite parts of the job is the marketing and design and stuff like that and getting that out there. I've taken multiple courses in just digital advertising and stuff like that. So being able to market their homes online through social media and stuff like that. And I also talk about how, I bring my husband into the mix and say, I live with a carpenter turned home inspector. So I've picked up a few things in the last 20 years.
Yes.
On how to, looking inside it when we're touring homes, I can point out certain things and be like, we might want to check into this further. Or, if a seller comes along and say, this is going to be a red flag, like we should probably fix this. And it's just my personality.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I think that's a big thing. People work with people they know and like.
Right.
Seriously. So I think that matters as well. Talk to me a little bit more about the digital marketing that you're doing. That's interesting to me because people have been, the last few times I've done interviews, people are talking about how they're using video and how they're using digital marketing differently than they have before. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you're finding are working effectively for you?
I just enjoy being able to put the way Facebook, the marketing works and the advertising on there and how you can really target different audiences, I think is important. Like I can put in there's certain things that you can pull into your audience to make sure that your homes are getting in front of the right people, right?
All right, we're going to be careful about the right people because
Right,
Facebook does a pretty good job of blocking you from doing anything that would violate fair housing. They're
Right.
really careful about that.
Right, exactly. And there's
Right.
a button they have to check, say this is for housing
Yes.
and whatever. Just the people that are interested in buying a home, right?
Okay.
People that, because I don't want to show houses to somebody who just bought a house, right? Like,
Right.
But those who are qualified and certain things, like, how when you somehow Alexa and Facebook and all those, they know
things.
what
They know things about you. Yes, I know they
right
do.
they know
Yes.
they know certain things, and I can put in there that I want to target people who have recently had a mortgage application or like Zillow or like realtor.com or likes these certain places.
Right.
That tells us that those people might be looking to
For
buy
the
a
house.
home. You know what I mean? Using that information to the seller's advantage to put your house in front of those people who are likely to buy.
Okay. Are you doing a lot of video of yourself?
Not as much as I'd like. It's one of those things where I like have all these ideas and I want to do it, and then it comes time to do it, and then like your head gets in, your mind gets in the way, and it's like, oh no,
no one likes themselves on camera,
right? Like
no one does.
I don't like this, I don't like that. No, that it's not perfect. The background's not perfect, right? And I get too much into my head, and I end up not doing it. So that's one of the things I'm working on.
One of the things that Caroline, who is our videographer, who is watching us do this, would tell you is, it's better that it's not perfect.
Right.
One of the good things about doing video is you don't want it to be totally falling apart, but they want to see who you really are, not the perfect you.
Right.
They want to see what you're doing every day, and short is better than long. One
Really?
of the other, short is better than long. And one of the other things someone did that I thought was really kind of smart, particularly because we have to ask for buyer's agreements pretty quickly now.
Right.
He said, I do all sorts of videos so that people know me and have a chance to see who I am before I do that first sit down with them. He said, so I can say you can go to my YouTube channel and you can hear me talk about what a buyer's agreement is, or what the 7.0 contract is, or what it means to do what the word escrow means. He said, I do a lot of those like little quick snippets,
Right.
but it's to get them feel like that they know me when they sit down with me.
Right.
So I'm not just whipping out an agreement and saying, here, sign this. No, they already kind of know some of the skills I have and everything like that.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of an interesting, I hadn't really thought about that, so I'm stealing his idea and sharing his idea about that. You'd be okay with that kind of thing. What do you see happening in the next 5 years? Want to make a guess?
I'm horrible. I tell my clients all the time, I do not have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I would hope that the interest rates are going to come down a little bit, towards the end of summer, with the election year, like they want
Sometimes you hear.
Yeah, they want everything to look pretty right before election happens. So hoping that happens, especially since I bought at a high interest rate, so I'd like to refinance.
Well, and that's one of the things that's holding up inventory. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I did buy my house at a fairly interesting interest rate, but then I refinanced my house. And so now I am golden handcuffed to my house.
Right.
That's the problem now, because anything I want to buy, I have to finance it probably almost, not quite triple, but double and a half of what I have as an interest rate on a mortgage. And I'm not going to get as much house. I'm going to pay more for a house that I don't probably like quite as much.
Right.
So without a compelling reason, I guess I'm here. I am a 7-year mover. Every 7 years we move. We're past the 7-year mark. I can feel my husband and I getting itchy, but not itchy enough to give up that mortgage rate.
Right, and it's
really
this like snowball effect, right? Like as a seller, you don't want to sell, and then there's some sellers that don't want to sell until they can find something because things are still flying off the market because inventory is so low. So it's like I don't want to put it on the market until I find something. I'm like, well, that's why everybody's in this situation, is because everyone like you doesn't want to put their house on the market yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's nothing out there.
Do you like buyers or sellers better?
I like sellers better.
Okay, why?
I like the creative marketing aspect of it, right? And that is what I enjoy. Buyer, I do love working with first-time home buyers. I do love the educational piece of that, and be able to explain everything. So.
If you're going to look for education for yourself, what's the next kind of education that you want to grab for yourself? Because you've already said you've done classes and stuff. What's the next thing you want to grab?
I was actually looking at taking some classes in graphic design to further my education on my marketing. And then I do a lot of books. Like if you look at my Audible account, I probably have like 100-some books on there.
What's the one you're reading now?
The 7 levels of communication.
Okay, what level are you on with that?
Just the first one. I just started it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. What's one of your favorite books? Do you have one that you think about and kind of, this is a crazy one. I go back to the old How to Win Friends and Influence People book, which is it's like from the 1930s, I think. And every so often I go back and kind of browse through that again and think, okay, this still holds. The simple thing of use people's names. Just the simple things. Have one that stays with you.
You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
I don't know that one. And why?
I think, I usually do the audiobooks, right? Because I'll listen to it in the car when I'm driving and whatnot. And it's just the way, the stories that she tells and the way it's just encouraging, and it tells you just pretty much to get off your butt and do it.
And go to work.
Yeah.
That is an amazing piece of advice. Why don't you just try going to work?
Right.
Yes. As a managing broker, that's often what I said. Why don't you just try working? No, really. I'm pretty sure that if you just try working,
Right.
Something good will happen. Yes. Anything you want to end with? Any advice for someone considering a career in real estate?
Oh, geez. Find a mentor. I think it's, just somebody to bounce ideas off of. Because, I hear this a lot, that real estate is like an island, right? Like, sometimes I feel like I'm by myself because I'm building my own business, right? And even though other realtors, you want to be friends with them and network with them, and so you could, pass along information to each other and whatnot and work together. But yet, they're also your competition. So it's like this fine line. So find somebody that you know and trust to kind of help you and bounce ideas off of.
Did you have someone?
No, and that's probably why.
That's probably why. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I think that being a realtor is a very lonely business.
Right.
It's a kind of crazy lonely. And one place you're really lonely, and then the other, you enter in these very intimate relationships that only last a little time with your clients, but they are like, you know more than their mother knows about them.
Right. I've known about pregnancies before family.
Seriously. So I think you have really two very different things happening with that. So I think the idea of getting a mentor is probably a good one. Anyway, thank you so much for spending the time with us this morning. I really appreciated it.
Thank you for the invite. It's been fun.
It's been fun. Just a note, the views of our guests may not reflect the views of the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors.